How do you keep a black guy from jumping on your bed? Put Velcro on the ceiling. I only tell you that because that joke was told to me by Murray, a 6'8" black guy that I worked with in Pittsburgh. And I was just watching a video and it reminded me of Murray. So I thought I'd talk about him a little bit. He was an interesting guy. He was a lot of fun. We got to be pretty good friends while we were working together. I don't know if Bobby ever watches any of these, but he'd certainly remember Murray. He would have worked with him before I did. I don't know if Pam would remember him or not. I know she wandered into that store sometimes. Anyway, Murray was a few years older than me. I'm not sure how old. Probably a bit older because I know I met his daughter once and she was just about my age. In fact, I jokingly said to Murray at the time, I said, "Hey Murray, is your daughter allowed to date white guys?" And he got pissed. He was like, yeah, I mean, there was like steam coming out of his ears. And I said, oh my God, I just crossed the line, you know? And then he goes, I hate people say things like that. You should be able to date whoever you want. I was like, oh, okay. I thought he was mad that I would want to date his daughter. And I mean, just to be clear, his daughter was way out of my league. Anyway, and Murray used to talk about, he grew up in a town in Connecticut. And there was another guy, another black guy there that it was like they were the only two black people in the whole school. So he had an interesting upbringing. I remember, I don't know what the other guy's name was, but one time he said that he was a hell of an athlete. And I said, well, they all are. And he just laughed and he said, no, not me, I'd rhythm. And he did a little dance. But, you know, we used to joke around like that. And, so he, like I said, he was a great guy. Talked to, he was the one that trained me for the job. Now this job that I mentioned, I think I mentioned it in a video before, but you know, sometimes I'm not sure what I have talked about because sometimes I'll think, oh, I'll have to do a video and tell this story. Then I can't remember if I actually did the video or if I just remembered thinking I should do it. But anyway, the store I worked in, it was a video arcade back when we had such things. Oh, that's right. I think I know why I thought of it. I posted on Facebook the one time a picture. I saw a guy filming in a town. He went by an arcade and I was surprised any place still had them. But this was back in the heyday of them. You old timers would remember, you know, the classics like Asteroid, Missile Command. I'm not quite sure. I think Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man were slightly later, you know, just a year or two. I think those others were first. But anyway, you know, they were coin operated. You come in, you get a bunch of quarters, go in and play. But the other thing about this store was it was half arcade, half porn shop. It was the video games. Pretty sure we didn't have any pinball in there. It was all video. They were out front. Then there was a back room that there was these little booths back there with these movie machines. And I don't know if they were videotape or was it like a Super 8 or something, but they were basically the most disgusting porn you could imagine. And guys would go back there and sit there and plop quarters in the machine, and I think you had to feed the quarters in about every 3 minutes, you know. But I mean, they didn't even, I don't think they even had any sound or anything. They were just silent. You just sat there and like, like the only time I saw them, every once in a while, you'd have to go back and sort of do a walk around, make sure everything's okay. And sometimes the movie would stick and you'd have to go in there and give it a little knock to, otherwise people would sit there, people. I don't know if I really want to call them people, the guys that would sit there all day and watch that stuff. But anyway, then there was also just off the counter there was a room that you had to, get past the counter to go to, because you had to be over 18 or whatever. And it had magazines. And, this was the stuff that was beyond Playboy or even Hustler, It was basically just a lot of naked bodies in strange positions. And I think one of the reasons I thought I had already talked about this, because I think I might have been telling Caleb the other day about working there. And one of the things, guys would come in and they'd buy the magazines. And I've never really been a big porn guy, But whenever they'd buy a magazine, part of my job is to go back there and fill in the slots, put another magazine in. And they weren't really in any kind of order that I ever knew. You just, as a slot opened up, you threw something else in there. And I remember I'd go back there and be filling the slots. There was this one magazine, and I always remember it was called something like The Other Side or something. But I'd walk by, and there was this gorgeous blonde on the cover of it. And I kept walking by, and I kept seeing this gorgeous blonde. And like I said, I was never really into porn, but I thought, I just got to see what she looks like. So I went and, they had there were slip covers that we put on them so you wouldn't get greasy fingerprints all over them from these guys going back to pick out what they wanted. So I finally one day I grabbed it and took the cover off to look inside. And that's when I realized why it was called The Other Side, because this gorgeous blonde had a penis. And then I realized, oh, well, that's probably also why she's wearing that ribbon around her throat to cover the Adam's apple. So there's something new to learn about me. Anyway, back to Murray. Like I said, he's the one that trained me there. One of the things I remember is also, out front where the counter was, like I said, we had the counter here. Over there was a wall with the video games and stuff going back to where the room was with the ugly porn. And then off from the counter was the room with the magazines. But then out front, there was a lot of I'm trying to remember. I think there was some, adult toys and things. But there was also some headgear. And one of the things I remember, whole wall behind all kind of really cool Halloween mask. Well, I don't know whatever happened. That I guess I had one. It was a Richard Nixon mask, but I imagine it probably got destroyed when I had my apartment fire in Pittsburgh. You didn't know about that, did you? Haven't done a video about that yet. Although who knows, I might do one. They don't end up showing before this because I'm always screwing around with the how they're scheduled to come out. But anyway, there was all these masks and stuff like that. And folding. I always remember a guy coming in one time, and he bought this folding knife that was about that long folded. And he bought a mask that it wasn't like a scary mask. It just sort of looked like an old man. And I thought, mugger, I'm sure somewhere there was people getting held up by a guy with a big knife, and an old man mask, but what could I do about it? Anyway, I still haven't gotten to tell you about Murray training me. I always remember when I went the first day and, he showed me, running the register and taking care of the machines and all that. And one of the other things I always remember, the counter was pretty wide. I'd say had to be like a good 3 feet across. And he part of the training, he told me what to do if somebody tried to rob me. He said, now if someone comes in and they say, give me the money. He said, if you just hand the money over, he said, I won't be too happy about it. And like I said, Murray was, like around 6'8", so you wanted to keep him happy. He said, now if they have a knife, he said, now that's up to you. That's you can decide. He said, you got this big counter in front of you. He says, and you also got this back here. There was like a metal billy club. He said, but that's a judgment call. He said, if they come in with a gun, you say, yes, sir. Could I put that in a bag for you, sir? Is there anything else, sir? No, that was the training on that. But there's a story I wanted to tell you about Murray, but first I'll tell you, I always remember him telling me a story when he first moved to Pittsburgh. And he used to deliver dry cleaning. And he said the one time he was delivering, it was this all-white neighborhood, and he's walking up the sidewalk with these couple of suits or whatever slung over his shoulder. He said there was these 2 little kids playing there on the sidewalk, like 6 years old or so. He says as he's walking by, the one kid says to the other, boy, I haven't seen one of them in a long time. And Murray just got such a big kick out of that. He wasn't offended by stuff. But the other story I wanted to tell you about Murray is, again, friendliest guy you'd ever want to know. Very easygoing. And the one day I came to work, because he worked days and I worked evenings, and this is while I was going to school out there. And I came in, relieved him, and he had this great big knife. And I said, you carrying a knife now? He said, nah. He said, when I was coming in today, when I went to catch the subway, there's these 3 punks there, and they wanted to rob me. One of them pulled this knife on me, and so I thought I should just better take that off them before they ended up hurting themselves. That was Murray. Anyway, that's I was reminded of Murray, and just thought I'd share that with you. And just so I could say, hey, I really did have a black friend, and he didn't live in Canada. Anybody have any questions? What's that? No? Doc? Anybody in the band have a question? Saxophone guy seems like he's trying to say something, but I think he's high. I don't know a word he's saying. So, hey folks, peace out, huh?